Welcome everyone to Dyad in the Forest. And since we recently got awesome news about Lucasfilm Games, we decided to devote an entire episode talking about games and gaming within Star Wars. So let's go.
What's up, Squadron 7? Welcome back to another Dyad in the Force episode. We are here with a special guest, Lord Dagovere. I mean, Lord, let's go.
Let's go. Thanks, guys, for inviting me. I'm so hyped. I've literally been looking forward to this all week. I'm ready to unlock the knowledge.
Absolutely. We've been, I've been, personally waiting to have you on. And I feel like this is like the perfect topic to have you on simply because it's so hype right now. And the news that we've had in the past couple of weeks with Ubisoft making an open world Star Wars game. What's the last open world game we've had for Star Wars? We haven't had it in a while. Like Fallen Order, I know it was some of it was kind of like
it's
explorative. Yeah, there wasn't any kind of, you could fly to
Metroidvania.
Yeah, you could fly to any planet, but those planets there was largely rails and invisible walls. And we're kind of, when we hear open world, especially in the gaming industry, we just drop the player in it and the player just goes off. And so this is very exciting for the Star Wars community. I know a lot of people are kind of reticent right now because it's Ubisoft and it's massive. And Massive did Division 1 and 2. Now, admittedly, guys, I played both Division 1 and Division 2, and I enjoyed it. I largely enjoyed those games. There was, of course, some flaws with them, some glitches and bugs, but I don't expect them to do a Star Wars Division. I do expect them to do something that is, akin to its open world nature, but also kind of build off of the mechanic success of Fallen Order. What do you guys think, Choco?
Yeah. If they could kind of build off of those bones, like I would absolutely love it. But have it be true open world, meaning that you can go anywhere, do anything at any time. That being said, I have not. I mean, it is specifically Massive that's just doing this, but when you say Ubisoft, my mind goes straight to Assassin's Creed. Now, I have not played them since they switched to a more RPG style role, so my knowledge of that franchise is based off of the true open world nature of the mechanic, where the parkour, the climbing, and all that was a really big and integral part to it. The parry system and the combat is a huge part to it, but I mean, my mind goes straight to Assassin's Creed 3, where when I played it, the very first thing I did is I went through and I bought all of the shops before I even played the story, and then money had no meaning. But that was my choice. So, I could do that. You can dive into the most difficult portion of the game and still potentially survive because it's open world. It's not based off of the RPG mechanics. Yes, you would probably want to unlock some things, get some better gear, get some, whatever before then. But that is the definition to an open world. It means that you can make your decisions regardless of how stupid they may be. So that's what I want. That's what I'm hoping for. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but we need, and we're pitching some more game ideas on this, but we need some non-Jedi games in here, like be it completely Sith or completely smuggler or pirate or a troop or whatever. We need to mix it up.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I kind of actually like I feel you on the whole entire Assassin's Creed thing, because the last time I played was, I think, the last multiplayer game, and I'm not talking about Unity, the co-op version. I was talking about like Brotherhood back in the day, where like Assassin's Creed actually had multiplayer, which was mostly the main reason why I played it, because I'm a big competitive person. But when we talk about like Division 2, I feel like that specific dev does a really good job at world building. The open world is pretty fun. You know, the dark zone mechanic that they had back in those games too, which was like a solo PvP or a main PvP area, you know, that was actually pretty intense when you were playing it.
It annoyed the hell out of me, but yeah, it was intense.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff going on. But I was not a big fan of the bullet sponging, you know, and I don't think you're gonna see that type of mechanic in Star Wars. I don't think you'll see that. But when it comes to open world Star Wars, I mean, I feel like the last time we got something like that was the MMO Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yes,
you know. And yeah, go on.
Well, no, I don't imagine that their next open world would be another MMO. That's all.
Yeah, especially since SWTOR is still making content, like there's still story, there's still, and I can't believe it, you know, that because that's technically like Legends at this moment, you know, and they're just still busting out content. But I have faith. I'm hoping it's in the High Republic setting, but you know, that's just me. But at the same time too, when it comes to this particular dev, I think we're in good hands, because I believe in Lucasfilm and how they're handling everything. You know, you look at Squadrons. I mean, Squadrons is fantastic. Yes, there isn't as much content as we want, but I think the mechanics for that game, it's such a treat for hardcore Star Wars fans that love.
The mechanics are so real.
Yes,
that I completely suck at that game. You like to think you jump into an X-wing and be like, "Let's be Luke." No,
it ain't Battlefront.
No,
and then you jump in and you end up being Porkins.
Exactly.
Oh no, Porkins.
Yeah. So like, if you guys were to have like a let's give you guys like a wish list of 3 wishes for this open world. We're gonna get into our own game pitches and talk and do a dive deep of all of that after this, but if you guys Dagovere, 3 like your wish list for this game, what are the 3 things that this game needs and has to have in order for you to throw money at it?
Yeah, so I would have to be setting. You know, I'm not sure if I can enjoy something again in the you know, the original trilogy era. It's not that I don't like it. It's just there's just so much, you know. Yeah. In Legends, it's as well. There's just so much in there. Give me High Republic, or give me like before the sequel trilogy, you know, or even during the sequel trilogy. You know, why not? And then I think the other thing would also have to be like multiplayer. I need some type of replay value. And with Jedi Fallen Order, you know, that's a great story and it's awesome, but I can only play the same levels over and over so many times. Like Destiny is, I think, a really good example of how you can seamlessly, you know, be single player if you want to. There's other people in the world, but you don't really need to interact with them. You can do your own stuff, except for raids, of course, you know, but everything else I think is fine. So that's 2. And then the third, give me some Sith, or give me like someone who doesn't really have to play by the rules, you know. I want to see some more of the, you know, gritty and, you know, criminal underworld and Nar Shaddaa, you know, type stuff.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I feel like we're probably gonna agree on a lot of things, but like I said, that the character, I want to feel like me, you know. These are largely self-inserts. I want to be able to jump in here and play like me, and because of this, this is actually one place where we are going to differ, but because of this, I don't believe it could work in the prequel era. I don't necessarily think it could work in the High Republic era, at least not from what I have read from it yet. But in original trilogy, in between original and sequel, or sequel trilogy, I think we have room for a, you know, if we are going force sensitive with it, we have room for a person that is force sensitive, that is discovering this stuff about them to not have been trained as a Jedi and have to go through life and experience this themselves. And that's what I want to do. Yeah. But understand that and the mechanic that they could toss in there would be the same thing that you would have in like a Mass Effect, where if you use the dark side, using the dark side, even in combat or whatever, will push you towards that path. Wow. You can't use both and try and stay in the middle. You can't use dark side and go in the left path. Using these abilities in combat will slowly give you dark side points, which is going to move you in a certain direction, and it'll close off certain paths. It'll close off certain relationships. It'll close off certain training options and give you the full Star Wars experience. So that's one thing that I definitely want.
So deep. Yeah.
Because I mean, I think that's one of the big misconceptions that we get a lot, is that the Force is a superpower, but this isn't. I want this to stay true to the universe, where this isn't the crap, I can't think of the name. Second Son, Infamous. This isn't the Infamous.
Yeah, this isn't Infamous.
Which I love. Infamous Second Son is, in my opinion, the best X-Men game ever. But that's a whole that's a whole side topic. We're not gonna do that.
I liked X-Men from on the Genesis. That was a dope
game. But as far as open world goes, all right, I'm gonna toss a date out there. November 11th, 2011. 11, right?
Yeah, 11.
That's when Skyrim came out.
That's when Skyrim came out, yeah.
We're still playing Skyrim. People still playing Skyrim.
Yeah.
You can do that in Star Wars. You can keep it open. I mean, when they made the source code for Jedi Academy public, that's when we got movie fights and all this stuff. Really dive, let the community be able to do things, but go open world and make it as open world as Skyrim, and let people set the rules, set the universe, give people their playground. Let's go.
Wow. I can already imagine a lot of our pitches that we've prepared have a lot of Skyrim in it. Or elements of that open worlded nature, where you have the freedom to do whatever you want, and we'll get to the pitches here shortly. But for me, we definitely diverged a little bit here. So for me, one of the key things that I want is a fully voiced protagonist that is a self-insert, but I hate the quiet, the silent protagonist. I very much enjoyed being Shepard. Now I don't want it to be like a Shepard. What I want is for them to work in a way where you can insert your own character, and he's named like Dovahkiin. He's named something that is, reputable as you go further into the story, and you have a voice, whether you're non-binary, male, female, or what have you. There's like voice options, and you can speak the lines that you've chosen in your dialogue, and I just hate that like everyone speaks at you when you're the silent protagonist. So that's one. Number two, the setting. I feel, man, the setting has to be in the High Republic for me. If it's going to be open world, it needs to be a world that has not been explored thoroughly, and not constrained by narratives surrounding it. So if we're in like the original trilogy, we're kind of constrained by the events of that timeline. Even in the sequel trilogy, now we could go post sequel trilogy. So it could either be High Republic, post sequel trilogy, or a canon Old Republic, and this is kind of like their testing ground for that time period for games, and I think that would be amazing because Satele Shan. I mean, because my mind wandered. My mind wandered into that name for some reason.
Well, my mind's telling me no, but my body.
But yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Like Skyrim mechanics, maybe Mass Effect dialogue, morality system without the teeter, of course, effect, but more or less like a deliberate path for your morality. And then Skyrim for freedom of choice, freedom of weapons, and freedom of because I know. Again, I keep on saying we're going to get to the pitches. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have like class,
something like that,
like a class role selection. But as you go forward, you're not limited to that, and you can be like a force user who uses blasters, or a bounty hunter with a lightsaber. Like we have Ty Yorick in the High Republic, who is a sellsword with a lightsaber. So I think for me, the High Republic has the most room to play in terms of a sandbox where we have so many different possibilities. We have light whips now. I mean, it's just a crazy world to inhabit. But do you guys have anything else to add before we get into our game pitches?
Specifically for the Ubisoft game, I think it's a question of what does their open world mean? Because are we talking about one planet? Are we talking about several planets? Are we? Because obviously we're not talking about Star Citizen open universe. So
or we could.
That's what I'm saying. Because I think we have the hardware, and I think if you can give me like 12 planets, 6 we know, 6 we don't, and sure, the Starlight Beacon, let's do it. Just put me in there and make sure it's big enough, because I think that was, as much as I love SWTOR, I don't think was big enough on some planets. The exploration and the open world PvP and things like that. I think there's just so much more room for Star Wars to get out and be open and explore.
Yeah, and I think Destiny is also a good kind of measure for this too. It does have multiple planets, but when you land on that planet, it's just it's kind of like 2 land masses connected by tunnels, and then that's it. So we definitely need large open spaces. That's kind of like what's that game that I'm thinking of, the one that has the largest known open world map?
No Man's Sky.
No, is
it No Man's Sky, or no? Because I'm thinking Just Cause. I think Just Cause has the largest map.
4?
Yeah. We need large maps like that and multiple maps like that. I mean, if we're thinking about a game that's coming out for Series X and PS5, we're gonna have to do that. We gotta have to land on Hetzal. We're gonna have to land on Wevo. We're gonna have to explore a huge chunk of these planets at the very least, not just land on one spot and you have to go east, west, and north, and then you hit walls there.
Yeah.
Like it needs to feel like it needs to feel like Skyrim, right? But multiple maps, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It needs to, I need to see the weather. I need to see the animals, I need to give me everything, and if it's one planet, I hope that it feels like one planet.
If it's one planet, it better not be Tatooine. It better not be a large scape of sand.
I love Tatooine. I love all of these original trilogy planets, but I think that's what the Mandalorian has shown in the High Republic is like, there's so much more out there, and we're just discovering it, let's just give me something. All right. That's it.
I mean, the Mandalorian's been to Tatooine twice, but that's a whole side topic. What if, this idea just came to me, but depending on the size of a game, right? You need to have multiple servers.
Yeah.
What if the servers can be a planet? The people that physically live close to you, and yes, you can travel to it's our systems. So the Midwest will have their own server. That's a different system. And your characters aren't going to interact, but if you need to travel to a different system, that can be a thing, but obviously it'll be a slightly bigger deal, but you'll be dealing with people on that system. They have their own local time and all this stuff. And maybe that's way too big and ambitious, but like,
is that such a thing though?
You travel over to like a system that's the servers that are over in Russia, and you can't understand any of the people there because they're speaking Russian. But
I mean,
I'm speaking Huddies.
That's
I don't know. That thought just popped into my head, so I thought I'd share it. It's probably largely terrible and needs to be vetted more. But
yeah,
there's some merit. There's some nugget of something in there.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. There definitely, it needs to go into the kiln for a little bit longer and marinate. But you're going in the right direction for sure.
I mean, I'm thinking Star Wars Galaxies, if anyone remembers that, and
I mean, there could be like
their own private servers, and I think that thought process can extrapolate.
It's kind of like DayZ with their own private servers.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking about like how much of like an MMO-esque feeling are we trying to like convey versus rein in, like see like for this game I kind of see multiplayer drop in co-op, but I don't see like them going the full Destiny MMO like dive into that kind of, because like they don't want to compete with SWTOR, and they're still doing a new Revan story in SWTOR, so like as long as that game gets enough support and maintains that support, I don't know if they want to compete with that, like put another MMO out there,
Well, I think as long as it's like maybe it's a first person, or third person. I mean, and SWTOR's mechanics, are just so different from like a Destiny.
It's an MMO mechanic.
And I still feel like I think they can make a a Destiny clone. I mean, I don't want to see that, but I like some things in Destiny, but I don't think they have to directly compete with it, because that would shoot themselves in the foot, but I think it's possible. I think if you really want to make a game, and I mean, pretty sure we talk about this later, but that's been the biggest flaw with Star Wars IPs ever since Disney took over, in my opinion, which there's just no games, and Star Wars is so big, there should be a genre of everything.
Yeah.
And why not? Just do it. Just go out there and do it. And I think they'll be fine. I think either way, if SWTOR's good enough already, they have so much support for that game. There's a nice chunk demographic that just loves that game so much and supports it. So I think either way, they'll be fine.
Yeah, but I guess the most important thing for me is that this game has the potential to be some kind of like, monolith, because as you just pointed out, there's not a lot of games for just as big as Star Wars is, right? We have the Squadrons, we have the Battlefront, but we don't have anything that kind of makes you feel like you're in the universe, right? You're either a pilot, or you're either a soldier, or you're either spending money to become Luke Skywalker, but there's never like this open world where you're dropped in and you kind of have to make a name for yourself, or just go through the woes of life in the Star Wars universe. We don't have that. So SWTOR, it's like it's the closest thing we've come to living in that universe, but we're still just going from town to town, doing quests, leveling up, and putting ability points in our talent trees, and that's it. We build towards the end game, do the raids and the flashpoints.
On rails.
Yeah. And we don't have that proper sandbox. I think that's the word I'm looking for, the proper sandbox. You could just go in, do whatever you want, maybe start a brawl in the cantinas. It doesn't really matter. Like I'm picturing like Skyrim, where you can like get into a tussle with a townsperson. Yeah. And the guards are like, freeze, and then you're at the whims of that town's jurisdiction and laws. And I'm picturing adventures like you would have that Han would have on Corellia, or, you know, Boba Fett as a bounty hunter he would have on Nar Shaddaa, and just like the possibilities of narrative. And so, this game could make or break Lucasfilm Games. And so, they could either make a really, really amazing game that stands the test of time and lives for the next 10 years, or they can make a game that really, really upsets the Star Wars community. And it is not that hard to upset the Star Wars community.
Yeah, especially when you put open world, you know, when you say open world Star Wars. So we'll see.
But that ends up opening up a whole separate topic, because there is going to be a faction of the community that will not like it, regardless of what it is, because of George Lucas's lack of involvement. It's something I see every day, you know, in my TikToks, where people will say, will refuse to suspend disbelief, or if something is used differently than they've seen it before, will now cite that as a plot hole, versus what it 100% of the time I've seen so far is a new application to something that's already been set up, but they will refuse to acknowledge it. And so I know that's a whole dangerous game. And the saddest part about it to me is that these people are shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
They're putting Disney into a no-win scenario. And if you put them in a no-win scenario, the best course of action is just to ignore those people, and then you will never get what you want. So I don't know. Also, side note, I love the Umbreon hat.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's dope.
Thanks, fam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a scenario in which, you know, Lucasfilm Games could come out on top, given that caveat that you just kind of threw into the room.
How many people do you see, you know, complain, oh, well, they made her a Palpatine, that shows that they didn't have a plan? You're like, no, they only made her a Palpatine because you guys complained about her having powers. Like, they did that for you, and now you are complaining about it. And I see that narrative in everything, so I don't know how to avoid it, but
you can. Yeah.
Let's quickly address that. First of all, if throughout filming all three, you're tossing around different ideas about her lineage, and then come to a decision at the time of filming, that's planning. Like, you are planning that. If there was no plan, they would not be discussing this, and she wouldn't have any inkling of an idea of who she is. She would have just shown up every day, and then on day one of principal for Rise of Skywalker, it's like, listen, Daisy, I know that you have not had any idea who your character is, but I think what we've decided just today, because we had this conversation this morning, that you're a Palpatine. No, like this, like, okay, so things change in the process of filmmaking, and just like games will look one way and look completely different at the very end, it's because the plans changed, but that doesn't mean there was no lack of plan, you know.
And every good business, every good business person, every person that does any sort of development understands the concept of pivoting.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to pivot. What you thought everyone would be into is not what they're into, and that's not a lack of planning. But yeah, and because of that, and because of what they've learned specifically with Battlefront 2. Battlefront 2 to me is the ultimate story of why I'm so excited of what is to come. They had this awesome idea, because the first Battlefront that EA did, you had to purchase other portions of the game at a later date. People didn't like that. Understandably so. And also, if someone didn't have the Rogue One pack or whatever, then they wouldn't get those missions, meaning that those missions had less of a player base, and that means that you have to specifically match it. Like, there's so much extra work.
Yeah.
So I loved their concept for Battlefront 2. Hey, you don't have to pay anything extra. They're going to try to recoup their costs with loot boxes, which, by the way, weren't actually pay to win. But like, even if you paid, no matter how much money you paid, you can never get the best stuff in the game. That was impossible to pay to get the best stuff. You can get more loot boxes, but no matter what you did, you would still get loot boxes, and you still had the chance to get good stuff regardless. But that again is another topic. But they showed us the game that had arguably one of the worst releases in gaming history.
Embarrassment. It was an embarrassment. Yeah.
But they ripped the spine out of the game, rebuilt it, put it back in. They've still given us more content than the vast majority of games like this without extra cost. And then 2 weeks ago, when they made it free on the Epic Store or whatever, so many people flocked back to it that you couldn't play it. It would say, sorry, there's too many people playing. That shows you, so that gives you an idea of what they can do. And now that they have that knowledge, they've had this experience that is, yes, trial and error sometimes is failure, but failure, the greatest teacher is. So we'll see what they come out with in the future. I'm very hopeful that they've learned some awesome lessons.
You've also given me hope, a lot of hope, that it makes me realize how many people I know still play the games that they trash daily.
All the time.
I have friends who trash the direction that Destiny 2 has gone, trash the weapon sunsetting, the loot that's gone, the loot that they're putting back in. It's all of a rehash, and they're just not enjoying Destiny 2 anymore. They're still playing it every day. I don't know why. And I don't have a reason why. I just, and then the reason I say it gives me hope is because the way Choco speaks on this, I kind of feel like if they can give us like the core tenets of what makes an open world game good, there's going to be the Kathleen Kennedy haters. There's going to be the people who just were dismissive from the start. But then there are the people who will just play the game because it's Star Wars. Yeah. I know I will. Yeah. And then if there's problems with it, I'm sure I'll have a problem with those problems. Yeah. But I will still play it, because far be it from me to deny that Skyrim had its own problems. Every game has its launch problems. Slashing at a mammoth only to see your guy spinning in the air and fly 500 feet up is not something you're used to. But hey, that stuff happens. So
remember killing a dragon, I didn't get a single soul. It just sat there and nothing
you just stood there.
Yeah, I was just like, where's that?
I feel cold and empty inside.
I just killed an animal.
I'm just imagining the bar. He's like, he slayed the dragon outside the town and then stood there. Just kept going. Standing there.
Legend has it he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there. For me, like for Battlefront, before we get on to the other stuff, I actually thought Battlefront, the first one they made, was better. And the reason for that is because I felt like there was a lot more customization. I had way more different types of troopers for some reason that weren't in the second one because of canon. and I don't like to hate, and I also don't like to over criticize something, because I feel like over criticizing something leads to hate, with influence and everybody, with social media and everything. But I will say that I really appreciated how they took Battlefront 2, and they put so much work in after launch, and Ben Walk and all of them who worked on that entire team and everything. I just wish they did that before it was released, and every timeline, every era got that same appreciation that the Clone Wars did. Because that was, for me, is like, I will play Battlefront, but I will only play in the Clone Wars era, because there's so many heroes. It still isn't enough that there's so much customization, with on the clone side with the Republic Commandos and Phase 1, Phase 2. But that's it. Outside of that, I play like 2 hours and okay, all right, it got me this far. But I feel like I can't say that anymore, because when you look at Jedi Fallen Order, when you look at Star Wars Squadrons, like they're on a roll. I feel like, it stinks, because they're not exclusive anymore, but at the same time, it's just better for us, because that means more people are going to get the opportunity to make more games. And it's sad though, because and I feel like Squadrons is so good. Like, just imagine a game with that much effort put into it and that deep with the skill.
Just imagine that game if I was good at it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, imagine every single type of niche Star Wars. You have a fighting game, you have a tactic game, you MOBA, whatever, and you have all these games that have that much effort and everything, and people are still going to hate them. People are still, like, you see it all the time on Facebook and social, because I'm a social media manager, so I'm like, okay, one of these days I'm going to work for these Star Wars companies. I have to deal with these people, getting mad at the game I'm making because there isn't Battlefront 6, or Jedi Fallen Order 7, it's just, that's just it. I don't want to say it's just Star Wars. It's just people. And at the end of the day, just make good stuff, and people will support you.
One of my favorite quotes from the show The IT Crowd is people.
Yeah.
What a bunch of bastards.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Man.
I can't tell you. Yeah, go on.
What are the chances? What are the chances that we get in this new whole renaissance with Lucasfilm Games, that we get either a Capcom or a Namco Bandai?
Don't do this to me, man.
Star Wars lightsaber battles.
Yeah, I mean, not even that. I mean, you could have. Just imagine like Darth Malkus versus Mandalore the Great, and all these other like people like Chewbacca, like you could do it. Like, there's really so many characters.
A Star Wars fighting game.
I love Masters of Terracasi. I love that game unapologetically, and I could compete on a world-class level at that game even right now. But
let's go.
And that's exactly what we need. I mean, this is kind of starting to get into the next section, because but for game pitches, the problem that we have, and especially with, because we've already not acknowledged the toxicity in the community, is that there isn't enough content. If there's isn't enough content, then everyone believes that the content needs to be tailored to them as a person individually. If you give people enough content that they really can't consume it all, as long as something is for them, then they should be happy. I think about, like Marvel or DC. Yes, maybe you love Batman comics. Awesome. That's you. Someone else might love Superman comics. Someone else may love Squirrel Girl comics. They can all exist. Just because you like Batman doesn't mean that you should like Squirrel Girl. Doesn't mean that they need to tailor it to you. Yes, I know one's Marvel, one's DC, but the but the concept remains is you can have things for different target audiences within the same universe, and that's where we need to be, and I think that's where we're going with all these new properties coming out.
Absolutely. Star Wars is huge. I mean, there's so much material, there's so much world building. It should have happened as soon as the rebranding started. But that's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. You know, and that's a great point, because I think about like the times where you're kind of like inundated playing one game, and then you talk to your friends, have you played this new game? And you're like, no, I haven't gotten a chance to. But in the Star Wars universe, we don't have that overabundance where we're thinking about that. Are you playing Battlefront 2? Yeah. Are you playing Squadrons?
I can try.
Okay, so have you played Are you playing Jedi Fallen Order? I beat it last year.
You go,
so it's kind of, just kind of like, we need that overabundance, as Choco says, where you have choices, multiple ways to go when you want to play in the Star Wars universe.
I mean, let's go DC shows. You're like, okay, you watching Arrow and Flash and Batwoman and Supergirl and Legends and Titans and
you said
Doom Patrol and
Superman and Lois coming.
Yeah, there's Superman and Lois one coming out.
Justice League Unlimited. Yeah.
There's so much stuff. You know, I didn't even get to like Harley Quinn or Watchmen or like to quote Captain America, I could do this all day. You can't watch them all. You won't want to watch them all. I mean, I feel like the target audience for Batwoman is the exact opposite target audience of Titans. Put money that's intentional. That's where we need to be.
Absolutely. There was a point in my life that I watched all of CW Verse. That was my life, man. I was every single day of the week had a show. At one point, I realized every episode of The Arrow is Oliver, you lied to us. I lied to protect you. We're all about to die right now because we didn't know what was happening. I'm sorry. I won't lie to protect you anymore. Next episode. Oliver, you lied. I lied to protect you. God damn it. I can't face my demons. The darkness
5
within.
years ago. I don't want to hear about 5 years ago. You were on an island and then you went to China and you became an assassin. You came back home. Like, God damn it.
Well, don't you know there was at least, 3 days in between him going to China and on the island that they could make a season out of? In any case, let's get to our game pitches. This is what this episode is all about. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you guys stayed in the open world realm, but I'm assuming you did. So let's get started. Choco, start us off with your game pitch. I know you've been thinking about this for a long time. So let's get into it. What is your Star Wars open world pitch?
Okay, I mean, I've been thinking about a few, so I actually wanted to call an audible with this first one, go somewhere you weren't expecting. Because yes, there is one I have been thinking about, I have been talking about for a while, but before COVID hit, a bunch of friends and I were playing Imperial Assault. If you haven't played it, it's like a semi-board game. You guys have a character, the character has different abilities, and you guys run missions, and there's someone else that is playing as the Empire or the bad guy. They're controlling all the bad parts, and you are versus that person. They have more resources than you, but it's like 4 against 1. It's an awesome game.
That sounds awesome.
we need something like that in the gaming world, and we could very easily do this in the Star Wars universe if we build something similar to XCOM.
Yes.
Imagine playing an XCOM. Your units can be different. This could take place, and this could take place anytime.
Yeah.
You know,
Old Republic.
where you have Jedi, you have soldiers, you have all this stuff. You can have characters worth different amounts, meaning you can have more soldiers on the field that you could Jedi or whatever. and it's, like XCOM, be turn-based and you're moving through, but have a multiplayer aspect to it where you and your friends can each pick one character and go up against the Empire. I mean, with the success of things like Critical Role, I think you could stream a game like that.
Yeah,
and it would be game busters. Like I don't know. I see this as an absolute.
When's this coming out? Let me pre-order, fam.
I mean, hold on. You've got me thinking now about like the streamability of this. Why not do a Star Wars combat card game in the vein of Hearthstone and team fight tactics?
Skyrim Legends, all that.
You have your heroes, Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, all of these heroes in the Star Wars universe, and they have their own little signature hero abilities. And then you have your smaller cards. You have your Stormtrooper, you have your Flame Trooper, you have your Mandalorian, all these cards that have different stats and different flavor text and stuff. You could do a Star Wars card game, or you could just do the really stupid ass, Pazak or Sabak. But I would much rather have that card game in the vein of Hearthstone. That made me really think that was a good audible.
Yeah,
I think it has endless potential for streamability, for like the animations that you can do, for the stories that you can tell, and if any of you guys have actually played Imperial Assault, you know that you're going on specific missions, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can make endless amounts of content and have people pay like Jackbox for different mission packs, or this is a sequel pack, and this is a prequel pack, this is a Jedi pack, a Sith pack, or whatever. There's so freaking much that you can do with this small idea. And Lucasfilm Games, if you're
in whatever universe makes you watch this podcast.
Yeah.
What about you, Dago? Can I call you Dago?
Yeah, you can call me Dagovere. It's all good, fam. Whatever you want to do. Yes, let's go, Star Wars guy.
I'll just call you Veer.
That's the thing too. Is like I have Lord. Here we go, Veer's watch. I'm actually the account holder. No, I'm not. So, so this is my 3 sentences or less, right? Mandalorian timeline, okay, or somewhere around that, and then play as a bounty hunter or force sensitive, and those could be whatever you want them to be. Okay. Open universe, like endless, seamless, in atmosphere, out atmosphere, like planets and everything. There's a whole thing, because I think that's the one thing about Mandalorian is there are so many characters, and I never was like a bounty hunter Mandalorian person. Like I don't want to say I didn't care for them, but I love lightsabers, I was like, that's like one of the coolest things in Star Wars, and I was like, yeah, I want to be Anakin. Well, I mean, I don't want to kill people, but I wanted to be somebody.
Yep, all my life.
I hate kids, but when I see that with the narrative and the mechanics, and I think about, okay, well, Star Wars is about like getting a crew and playing with your homies, or you can be just like that one bounty hunter that, I only work alone. Maybe you're a simple man trying to make your way in the universe. I don't know. But I would love to see like, all right, let's say, all right, yeah, I got to go to Tatooine. Never heard of that planet before, and you chilling there trying to do whatever in the dune, see up, and then Jawas come and take away your ship, like just all these like little game mechanics, because and I think that's what's so great about the Star Wars universe is that there's so much in it that it's living, right? It's there's so much happening, it's and that's what I get a lot of on my Star Wars TikTok or my podcast that I did, because I literally actually talked about this game for a complete hour, was that like there's just so many living, breathing things and elements inside the Star Wars universe that I don't think we get to see them in video games brought to a reality that well. And, you know, this is a free roaming game. You're traveling the universe, you know. Why not if I go to some crazy place, some planet on Navarro and shoot up the entire guild? Why can't I build some type of bounty on my head and then have people with fobs tracking me around the entire galaxy, not just AI, but other players, you know? And I love the whole idea of not just having players and AI after me, but also what if there are factions, you know, we see the Nile and stuff, you know, we obviously see the New Republic and maybe remnants of the Empire. And then you have people like cartel, like Jabba the Hutt, or, you know, fighting draws who have these like little gang people trying to come and get you the entire way. I like, and I love that how BioWare has always done that with KOTOR. You know, and the choices you see it in Mass Effect, you know, you shoot this guy and then his brother and his family come after you, you know. I just feel like that there's so much potential for a game like that. And there's so many elements that are in today's games, like Skyrim, obviously, like Destiny, you know, you can play it alone or you can play with friends. And what's so beautiful about Destiny is I kind of want this for Pokemon. I know, I don't know if you also love Pokemon, but I like this idea of breaking the area around you, right? And let's say we all go to the Dune Sea and there's thousands of people in the Dune Sea. Nobody wants that. You know, like nobody wants. No one wants to go to Korriban and have 1 million people in the Valley of the Sith Lords. You know,
the infamous rule of two.
Be the Dune Sea? Would that be the Dune Sea?
You're right. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, and that's why I love Destiny so much. Is because Destiny like spreads it out. You know, if you want to go to the tower, if you want to go to, you know, if you right, but if you want to go to a Coruscant, if you want to go, you have things there, you know, that's populated enough, and it won't break down anything for immersion or anything like that. And I feel like things like that can be adopted, and that's the way I see it. That's the type of game I want. I want to be able to go out here, think I'm gonna be okay, and then, you know, somebody in his posse totally like mess me up because they have friends, you know.
I'm just thinking, like, I have this image in my head of people RPing in this game. Yeah. They go to Moraband. They're like, this is the tomb of Darth Bane, the originator of the rule of two, and then there's 60 Sith to just run by you with their red lightsabers out, and you're like, like, right.
It didn't stick.
It didn't stick at all.
It's so that's how it was with SOTOR.
Yeah,
that's how it was. Because I'm sorry, I was one of those people. Jung Ma, you know, I was doing RP all the time, baby. Sith Assassin, come at me, you know.
Oh, you know, I was RPing with Satele all night, you know. But you raised a good point with the bounties. What I see in that one is like the possibility of having something that hasn't been done in open world games, at least to my knowledge, is that you can do a side quest or a job or a mission for someone,
right,
and completely just bamboozle them.
Yeah,
smuggling for Jabba the Hutt, and then you just take his spice and don't deliver it, and suddenly there's a bounty on your head from the bounty hunters instead of the law. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, totally dynamic, and that's what Star Wars is. You know, you're chilling, and then, you know, Boba Fett walks in and just shoots up everybody in the place. And I guess, you know, I guess you're, you know, the new Hutt now, and I guess you're the Kingpin. So I just feel like Star Wars is that game, and a game that big, it has to be that way, because there's just so many dynamic elements in Star Wars, and you know, why not? I mean, I feel like that could be the game, you know?
It needs to embrace its ridiculousness.
Yeah.
I mean, the way you're explaining it also makes me think of Cyberpunk 2077, which I hear a lot of complaints about, but playing it on PC, I don't run into anywhere near the issues that some people are complaining about.
Yeah.
But yeah, on a second playthrough, it was just wildly different. Like things I didn't even know or understand, of like, oh, this person was super helpful last time. Oh, they're trying to kill me right now.
Yeah.
I don't even know what did I do?
You crossed them.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that Tatooine is another place, or like Coruscant. You know, like I want to do this video series about like top 5 open worlds or planets that I would love to see an open world game. And Coruscant is one of them. Mm-hmm. You know, like no one ever really talks about like the the entire like de-evolved humans and everything, and just all the stuff that's happening on the lower levels of Coruscant. You know, and also I think. Hyperspace and how you travel around the galaxy isn't really explored enough in video games too, because there's blockades, especially with the New Republic, and then maybe the New Republic, obviously they're not large enough, you know, maybe they're not fun enough that they have enough military to really handle what the Empire did, and so you have other things happening around the galaxy, and you run into these things happening, and or it happens to you. It's just, I feel like that type of dynamic around each planet in Star Wars is just waiting to be brought into a video game, and I'm waiting. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'll be 80 and I'll still be playing video games. So it don't matter.
You'll be 80 and you'll be like, let's go. Choco, did you have an additional one you wanted to pitch, like the one that was towards the open world, or were you going with your Audible?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So my idea that I've been toying around with for some period of time revolves around a little character known as Kyle Katarn.
Of course.
I believe now, obviously that does limit this time period, but I want something that gives you that freedom that you guys are talking about, where depending on who you're running missions for and what you're doing, those are the factions that are going to favor you. And if those are the factions that are favor you, then other ones are going to align against you. And you can end up being a pirate or a smuggler or whatever. But I mean, did you want me to get into the story of the pitch?
go ham on this whole pitch.
Yeah, go in.
All right.
Because I did, and I don't know if that was a symptom of just me being a game designer, but
yeah.
Go ham. I want everything.
Yeah, I mean, so me going in on this is the story that I imagine is this takes place after Return of the Jedi. This takes place after Operation Cinder, which we get to kind of play through in Battlefront 2, right? That was really a big turning point in the war, because that was Palpatine taking the ball and going home. Like, I'm just going to destroy everything as much as I can. And basically, especially if you read the books like Alphabet Squadron and things like that, you find out that, if you defected, if the events of that cause you to defect, you were actually welcomed into the Republic, because you're like, we started doing some really crappy things. Like we disagreed before, but I wasn't about to storm the Capitol. But if you stayed after Operation Cinder, then you're likely a bad person. Yeah, so
evil.
I want the story to be based around the Empire's most elite 8. Like there's this team of 8 people. You drop them down on a planet. Like if this planet is not cooperating with giving you its resources, drop these 8 people there. Come back 2 weeks, maybe a month. The planet's yours, right?
Wow.
Specializing in espionage and assassination and hacking. They can go and destabilize a government in a month and let you come in. And take it over, and then Operation Cinder happens, and half of them defect and go to Coruscant.
No!
And you are one of them. Your name is Kyle Katarn. So as you play through it, you have nothing, you're no one, but you have all these skills that you've developed and honed over all these times. So you're running jobs, you're just trying to live, you're going to leave all that behind. There may be people that recognize you. There may be, I mean, there's ghosts from your past certainly that are going to, you know, play a role. The other three that also defected, yeah, they've taken high-ranking roles in different syndicates and gangs and all this stuff. And as you're playing through, and again, you get to choose the jobs that you take or how you're doing it for what factions and all this stuff. You can join the police force down there or whatever. But as you're playing it, all of a sudden, the 4 that didn't defect all land on Coruscant at the same time. And you find out, okay, what are these guys up to? You know how much havoc they can wreak in a very short period of time. Now, it's only 4 of them, so it probably will take a little bit longer. But if they haven't defected, you know that their goal, the reason that they're there, is to destabilize Coruscant so the Empire can take it back. You need to stop that from happening. So as you play through the game, you have to rise up in the ranks. You have to do these missions. You have to get to the 3 members of your team that did defect to try and find out what they know. Find out if they would be willing to align with you. Give you resources or not. Maybe you went to this one first and he hates that one, so they're against each other. There's so many different possibilities. But once you get that part settled, then you have to go up against these 4 and find out where they are, what they're doing, how they're trying to destabilize the Republic. And there's like so much awesome, like deep lore that you can get into for the characters, for Coruscant as a planet, that I need this. And also, if you know Kyle Katarn, you also know that he's Force sensitive, but you don't get into that until later in the second game. You mean like it's not like an automatic thing. And so I would love that as an option too, where, you know, the weapons that you get better at are the ones that you use all the time.
Yeah.
And so as you use them, you get better at them, but you find out that you're Force sensitive. And so as you're going and as you are stopping in shops or exploring, you may find old Jedi texts, you may find old Jedi artifacts, you may find an old temple, and those things can increase your ability in the Force. So it'd be a game where you couldn't play it as a Jedi, but who knows, with New Game Plus, you may actually get there. We may get some Star Wars Galaxies type things in there, but I definitely want you to have some abilities and have it. Yeah, I think that would be a home run.
Nice. Quick question. Could you level up staff and then go to a lightsaber and use it fundamentally?
Oh, you see, a staff is like a foot longer than a lightsaber, so you can't transfer any of those skills because, oh
my god! You mean melee isn't its own category?
That conversation is just so painful.
Oh no! What? I don't know. I missed this.
Yes, I got into it with a Power Ranger on TikTok. Listen, like the main point I was trying to make was just staff and stick are great weapons for fundamentals of handling a lightsaber because they're pole-like in nature, and you would get any of those using any of the melee weapons, but the conversation devolved into swordsmanship and the intricacies of swordsmanship, which was never I was never making an argument against anything. It was an argument for staffs and stick. But I mean, I'm over it.
Oh no!
No, but actually, that is something that I actually would include though. Or would like to, ideally, as far as game mechanics are concerned, because there would be melee skills, but you'd have sub skills, right? Because I mean, let's face it, if you learn how to fight someone with melee weapons and you understand reach, you understand balance, you understand your own fitness, you understand reading their movements, like there's so many things that you would understand, right? And you can level up. You know, I mean, that's not any different than, like we was mentioning, on playing Cyberpunk. You know, you can have skill level in reflex. I mean, theirs doesn't make much sense. But, I would do that, but make it make sense.
Yeah,
yeah.
I heard this pitch a while back, and I've always been interested in it. This is a great time period, and a lot of it sounds like this going through, ranking up, and eventually facing these four. Like has a lot of Far Cry to me, especially the one that I think it was 5, the last one I played, where you were kind of in this story where there was these 4 leaders or 5 leaders around the map, and you would have to work your way through the map and eventually confront each boss and kill each boss until you had come to the main villain. And I'm guessing that in this pitch, after those 4, you get to the big bad.
I mean, someone ordered the mission and planned for it to take place, but
I thought Bill Burr killed him.
Well, but that's in the next game.
That was such a good scene. Oh my god.
That was his best acting performance for sure.
So good. Yeah.
That was his only acting performance. Before that, he was just Bill Burr in space.
Yeah. I was gonna say he did act when they let him go, but you're right. That was still Bill Burr. I mean, I can go. Okay. I'll walk this way.
I love him. I never knew him before, but I think he fits so well. I think whatever his character is perfect. If it's him, it's great. I love it.
You're so likable.
Yeah.
People give him crap for having a Boston accent in Star Wars.
So
you and your sunny disposition.
Yeah. So silly. Come on.
Speaking hut teas, like
it's not even a language. It's not even like a real language. I heard. Yeah, it's.
I mean, dialects, regional accents, they're all a thing in Star Wars. Who cares? I mean, Earth doesn't exist and England doesn't officially exist, so Boston doesn't officially exist in Star Wars. So it's just a Burr accent, a Mayfeld accent.
He has a speech impediment. Stop being rude.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I went a little bit of a different direction. Of course, because the Dyad doesn't, they got to represent different sides of the coin, right?
Right.
So there's 2 types of open world games. There's the story-driven narrative, and there's the player-driven narrative. And I'm going the Skyrim route with the player-driven narrative, where the story and the narrative revolve entirely around what the player does, what they choose to do, and the relationships that they build and the enemies that they make. So there's going to be a central through line story, but it's in the vein of Skyrim. You can create your own story with whatever you choose to do in this world. So the player is dropped into an open world of the High Republic during the Great Disaster. The player must subsequently make actions that will determine how their story will unfold. To have to live with those choices, decisions, and experience a story tailored around those decisions. And of course, there's a freedom of class, freedom of role, but it's not like you choose one and you're stuck with it. You just kind of choose a starting one. And if you don't like it, you can always change careers or do that whole jazz that Han does in the middle of his life. So like if you were a soldier or a pilot, you're part of the rescue efforts, and your introductory missions is learning how to fly and going around destroying debris in the Hetzal system during the Great Disaster. And then you would report to your SO, and then you would continue your training as a soldier or as a pilot there, and then your world would expand forth from there, where you go to other planets, you start taking other missions, or you pursue a whole nother side quest, side storyline, or another side storyline where you're chasing down bounty hunters. Possibilities are endless. I didn't design out all of the quest lines. Forgive me. But if you're a Force user, you're dropped on one of the moons of Hetzal. You're part of the evacuation efforts while learning basic fundamental Force abilities along the way. And you're found by a Jedi who is assisting and will become their apprentice. Now, you may also choose the dark side as a Force user. You can abandon the efforts. You can escape on your own, where you will encounter the Nihil, who will try to recruit you. But your path as a Force user isn't, delineated by Jedi or Sith. You can, choose to be a savior. You can choose to help people during the disaster. You can just go off on your own, and just self-preservation is your most important kind of, directive. But the path you choose as a Force user will determine who tries to recruit you, who reaches out, and if the Jedi see you as a threat, and if the Nihil see you as an ally. You can choose to be a bounty hunter. You're dropped on an Outer Rim world where you're tracking down a bounty puck and emergencies start happening. And you have to choose to escape or rescue a family. These are all just the starting points, right? And so your story, as you make choices, as you make decisions based on which quests you undergo, which dialogue choices you make in those quests, will start to unravel your larger story, which will be tied around what you choose to be, how you choose to act, and the people you choose to save or abandon, and the people you choose to align yourself with, or the people you choose to make enemies of. And like, if you're a smuggler, you're in the middle of a huge contract when the disaster strikes. Do you escape with the goods? Do you drop them in favor of rescuing families and creating cargo hold room for people? All of this stuff. Your starting point in the disaster, I think, is a great starting point to kind of give the player this initial push for them to choose their first paths in their morality system. And the morality system is largely going to be kind of like KOTOR, but you cannot renege. You, just like Choco said, and I'm sure Dagovere mentioned partly in their pitches, you cannot renege on your choices. You go down the dark side, you are dark side. You go down the light, you are light. The path to either is a deliberate path. You choose light over and over again every day to be a Jedi, and you purposefully choose the dark side when you fall. And so the narrative, I already said this, depending on what you choose, the story revolves around that. You're dropped in the middle of the Great Disaster, and the story follows the player who must make sacrifices and choices in order to save the galaxy from this disaster and the eventual lead up to the confrontation. Players will meet new characters a la Mass Effect and Skyrim, and there will be a companion system, and they'll engage in social dynamic that sets up the game's morality system and romance system. As the player progresses further into the story, depending on their role, they'll either be antagonistic to the Nihil or antagonistic to the Republic and the Jedi. The story will eventually unfold where what you're doing every day as you play this game, in the same vein as you playing Skyrim, you're creating just new stories for yourself, where any day you're playing this, you could be like, so what did you do in this Star Wars game? Well, I kind of went on a couple of bounties. I killed some of these wanted, these wanted criminals, but the Nile, for some reason, they kind of ambushed me on my way exiting this planet, and I chose to like kill them or something. So like, if you remember at all your experiences playing Skyrim, you had those kind of isolated stories that you had when you were out running in the world and there was someone that was running for their life and you chose to save them. These kind of dynamic stories that happen need to happen in a Star Wars context.
Yes.
So whenever you're playing this game, you have a tale of your own, a tale as old as a tale that is not as old as time, a tale is as old as the last time you played this game. But yeah, so some key feature points.
Yeah.
Offline mode, online co-op, drop in, maximum 3 players.
Nice.
Some multiplayer modes, deathmatch, team deathmatch, Republic versus Nile. The Great Rescue, a co-op multiplayer mode where teams are pitted against each other in harrowing rescue attempts during the Great Disaster. So they're across varied locales, maps, different moons of the Hetzal system, or even different other systems and other sectors where emergencies are happening. And there will just be varied scenarios where you have to, or varied scenarios, goals and objectives where you have to save the planet. And there could be an antithesis to this game mode as well, which is the Great Sabotage, where you're the Nile, or you're an antagonistic kind of entity and you are trying to get that thing or that mission to succeed, in which you are sabotaging or aiding in the disaster.
Okay.
Of course, the companion system, freedom of role and class and weapon choice. So you could be a bounty hunter who uses a lightsaber, or you could be a Jedi that uses a whip, or a Jedi that uses a Mandalorian whistling birds. Customization, of course, characters, hair, boobs, packages, legs, all that good stuff. Just a range of customization with colors.
Sorry, just like the timing of boobs, packages. It was worth mentioning.
It'll be third-person OTS, over the shoulder. So it's akin to like Jedi Fallen Order, Mass Effect, shooting mechanics, melee mechanics, and power sets. Dialogue, obviously in the vein of Mass Effect, with the morality system, the reputation, and the trust system. And the last, if not certainly not least, it's open world. You're free to go wherever you want. As soon as you're dropped in and you've done the tutorial mission, or the Fatui mission, which is just the first time experience, and you've kind of chosen your initial path that you want to follow. As soon as that happens, you can go wherever you want. From there, you can secure your own ship, whatever quest that entails, and then you can go off and fly to a different planet and pursue whatever side stories that are in that planet. The point is, there's one through line campaign that you can follow if you want that kind of curated narrative story, or you can just experience all of these side storylines however you want them, whenever you want them. They're there for you to do, no matter where you are in the story. So if you want to go to Nar Shaddaa and there's like 15 other side storylines that you want to pursue with Jabba the Hutt, or with, another cartel, Black Sun, or the Crimson Dawn, you can do all those side storylines. Now, some of them obviously may turn out to lock certain other paths because you've chosen, the Hutt cartel, and now you're antagonistic to like the Black Sun or the Eclipse. I forget all of these crime syndicates, but as you guys have been mentioning in your pitches, you're antagonistic to one because these factions are antagonistic to each other. But the whole point is, you are you're dropped in during the disaster. You make your initial morally ambiguous choices, and then you're left to your own devices. You have Hetzel Prime, Weevo, the Starlight Beacon, Alfrona, and Tatooine, and Mustafar, and Moraband.
Oh, okay.
And Coruscant, of course, as well. Gotta have that Jedi headquarters if we have Moraband. But yeah, that's it. I know I kind of went in on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I expect the game designer to do that. So,
but yeah, if at all this pitch kind of made you expand further on your own pitch, I would love to hear you guys's if it kind of like inspired a little bit more expansion, a DLC, if you will, to your pitch.
Yeah, I mean, like every time when I listen to you, like there's just so in depth, because I'm not a game designer. I got a lot of free time, after work, and I think about that stuff, So, but at the same time too, like when I look at that, I just feel like a lot of video games are stuck in 2011, you know. And when you look at Skyrim, it's like every game is trying to copy that, but in my opinion, still isn't as good as that yet. And I don't know if it's hardware, I don't know if it's just like creativity, whatever it is. So when you bring in those elements, and hopefully, with a PS5 or the PC, with these 3060, I don't know.
With these ray tracings?
Yeah. Like hopefully we can do this now. But yeah, I pre-order both your guys' games, because I feel like not just video games are just kind of right now. Like the only game I'm waiting for this year is, I'm waiting for Pokemon Snap. I'll keep that on the down low, but
you heard it here.
But is Halo Infinite? Like that's it.
Oh yeah, that's still coming out.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, like that's supposed to be like the game that has the most money ever for like a video game. And I'm a huge Halo fan, but I was kind of scratching my head at the graphics. Everything else I was okay with, but we'll see. We'll see. And I'm excited. I hope your game comes out. I hope they listen to us. That's it. That's all I got.
I mean, you just had me thinking about my favorite game series of all time, which is Mass Effect. And when you mentioned that, I mean, two things come to mind. Now, I know. It's what I'm thinking is prequel era based, and we've had a ton of stuff, but just if you could largely reskin Mass Effect actually it doesn't necessarily have to be prequel based, but imagine that same concept, but you are like, you could do the same thing and have the main character be a trooper or an ex-trooper or a smuggler or something like that, that's just making their way through this galaxy, and who gets wrapped up in a much larger conflict that they were not planning to be part of, but because of who they are or their past or whatever, then they can move forward. And you can start out with like, I'm shaping this as I go, but pirates. We could always use more pirates, right? I need and to play a game where like maybe you're a fledgling pilot, but at one time you worked for the Empire. You are an ex-soldier, so you know a lot more than these average idiot drunkard people. So you're successful in your missions, and your boss is Hondo. So there's just lots of comedy to start with.
Yeah.
But a big disaster happens. You gotta, and you are the only person that is able to help these people who are on the fringes of this galactic society. And you can really take that and grow it into you becoming a pirate king or queen or whatever. And then now that you lead this faction, there's other factions, you're warring against other factions that want to align with you. And like, yeah, there's so many possibilities for games that I don't know why we keep hammering down on the same simple goddamn games. Like,
yeah, it's a larger problem than people realize, and Dagovere as well as Choco just hit a great point. In game design in general, a lot of directors, a lot of creatives are trying to clone games, but that's not the way to go at all. And this is the reason why, and then allow me to be a little bit snobby here. This is the reason why my pitch involves so many mechanics from different games, that because you cannot clone one game and be successful doing that, because not one game is perfect. Now it might have gotten some really great reviews and people really enjoyed it, and that is just the nature of gaming, but you cannot clone that experience. You clone the mechanics and you clone the user experience, but you don't have that same flair. And
yeah, it comes back to, like we were talking about earlier, is being able to pivot.
Yeah.
You know what's the greatest pivot in gaming history, in my opinion? Fortnite. Think about it. What was Fortnite supposed to be?
A battle arena?
No.
Arena battler? Whatever.
It did not start as a battle royale. It was a survival game. You built a base and you fought against zombies.
Oh yeah,
that was the purpose of the game. It
was coming off of the success of King of the Hill or H1Z1, I believe, and PUBG.
Yes, so the whole battle royale feature was casually tossed in afterwards because of the popularity of PUBG. But that's not what the game was not designed because of that or for that. They pivoted and then they created a game market, and you're like, you guys understand that that's how it works, right? Like, you have to be able to make these changes. You have to be able to make these moves, and that's, I don't know.
You need to be agile in a gaming landscape where, you know, tastes can be rather fickle, and taste makers exist, because it doesn't matter what you're trying to clone. If it doesn't hit with the influencers, it's going nowhere.
Yep.
And that's the sad truth of gaming today, is you can have the worst game, and this isn't like a call out to anyone in particular, but you can have the worst game in the world. If one influencer enjoys it and it hits different for them, it's going to succeed. No one's going to care about their own experience with the game. They just want to be able to play the game that Twitch streamer is streaming. So do we have any other more expansive ideas to add to this smorgasbord of game pitches that we could, you know, jury rig onto our own pitches? I know, like,
yeah, I mean, when I think about it, before I say this, I actually have to go after this because I have to help my girl with some stuff. But I will say, where is Republic Commando 2? You know, where is Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 3, whatever you want to call it. There's just, I mean, when you look at games, and new games are always good, give yourself new stuff too. But I feel like there's just, again, there's so much on the board when you look at LucasArts games, and you can go on Steam right now and you can buy so many games for $100, less than that probably during Steam sale. And I don't know why there aren't modern day versions of those games that
I'm not sure. I'm still waiting for a Shadows of the Empire with a canonized Dash Rendar.
Yeah, you know, it's like, what's going on, guys? You know, what are we doing here? They better be listening to Dyad, you know?
And now that you say that, I kind of want like a canonized, or at least I want like a Fable-like game with Choco's Luke Skywalker show pitch.
Yeah.
Where it's in the vein of Fable, but you're going through Luke's journal.
God, I love Fable so much.
It's fun. Yeah.
Oh man, is there room for
about that game?
Is there room for like a Baldur's Gate, Star Wars isometric thingy?
So what about, like,
I'm chopping sausages here. No one's answering.
Civ Star Wars, that would actually be amazing.
Yeah,
because that's what I'm saying. Like, I
build your own republic.
Yeah, what if I just want to be the Senate? You know, like,
oh Jesus, don't give people that power, dude.
I'm just saying it would be perfect. Anyway,
that's like a triumph.
StarCraft. You can also do a StarCraft thing with
Star Wars. There's so much. Well. I want to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. I want to be Palpatine. I want to. You know what? I want to be Dex. I just want to serve people on Coruscant, bro. Like, just let me do anything. It's Star Wars. It's so big. It's
you
so
say
vast.
that, but I maintain Dex is in the witness protection program. He knows way too much about arms and like.
Right?
The Jedi don't even know this planet exists, and he's like, oh yeah, the Camino and cloners, they're on Camino. It's out past the rim. This is a toxic dark. They make them. I don't ask me how I know. Anyways, you want a cheeseburger?
Yeah, you want a cup of Java juice, bro? You know, you wouldn't believe the conversations I have here on Coruscant.
I just meet interesting people. That's all. Don't worry about it. It fell off a truck.
So we are running out of time for this week's episode. I want to thank Lord Dagovere. Just for really quick for everyone that's listening, can you tell us where you can find you, what kind of content you make, and your final thoughts?
Yeah, I basically do YouTube, Lord Dagovere. You probably see my face somewhere. Mark Hamill even saw it, so that's pretty cool. That's awesome. And then I also have a Twitter and a TikTok as well when I'm not completely busy with work. So I like Star Wars. Come talk to me or something. I don't know.
Any final thoughts, Choco?
No, this was a fun conversation. Like, I mean, I can't wait. It's just sucks because now there's more people for me to try to bring onto.
Absolutely.
Onto the hot road, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. But with that said, that is the end. On to the next one. May the force be with you. We are all the Republic for light and life.
For light and for life.